So yeah, as Peter pointed out, there's been advances in handling the animals and developing new methods for tagging. So nowadays we are able to put very sophisticated tags that collect very high resolution data, and I'll be concentrating on that. Hence the name of my presentation, because I think this is the closest we can get in actually like without swimming after the narwhal. So we've been conducting this tagging work from Greenland, which was the last field work that Peter told about in Scoresby Sound in East Greenland. The tagging started in 2010, but since 2013 we've been using these high resolution tags, and we've been using no. And then this is one example of how the behavioral data can look like. This is a time depth record of from one individual, and then with the coloration showing different types of acoustic signals that we've been concentrating on. And we've been focusing on 3 types of acoustic signals: the echolocation, clicks, and buzzes that are used for foraging. And that's how it sounds like when it's finished. So they are doing these echolocation, clicks, and buzzes in between to locate and catch their prey. And then they produce also like various different kinds of calls that are used in the social behavior. But the presence of these very distinct echolocation, clicks, and buzzes is also like enabling us to categorize the different dive types, so that we can look at the behavior during, for example, in this case, foraging. And as Peter also already explained, we can, for example, look at the stroking behavior and the 3D movements of the animal while they are on a foraging dive. And the black diamonds there show the occurrence of the buzzes. The coloration is the stroking, and then where the track gets like thicker, it indicates that the animal is turning around. So during the bottom phase, the narwhals are mostly like swimming upside down and like spiraling along the bottom, and that we think is something that is important for their prey captures. And then when we like lump these different foraging dives that we can identify from the buzzes together, we can look at the depth distribution of the production of buzzes, and that tells us then where they are capturing their prey. And then for our individuals, we can see that the most of the buzzes are occurring here between 300 and 600 meters. But then, since our individuals are carrying also GPS tags, so we are able to put two different kinds of tags on the animal, so we can both get this very high resolution behavioral data, but then also a bit more low resolution geographical data. We can then pinpoint where the animals are moving. And now I hope that this will work. It does. Very good. So here you see the tracks of 2 individuals that were tagged in at our field station in Greenland. And then again the coloration shows the different acoustic signals that are occurring at that time. So the red dots are buzzes, and the orange ones are echolocation, clicks, and then the light blue dots are calls. And we can see from there that both individuals are very much concentrating this particular area there. So from there we could see that the animals are targeting different, or this particular depth stratum in on the vertical area, but then also that they are targeting specific areas in the Scoresby Fjord area. And this was obviously interesting to look at the kind of the microhabitat use within the fjord system, but then using the CTD tags that measure salinity, temperature, and the depth, we were also to pinpoint that these areas, actually on the fjord here exactly, is one of the coldest areas in the fjord system. So we can then see that the narwhals are targeting cold temperatures where they prefer to dive, and this is important information explaining about the behavioral niche and the ecological niche of the species, and it's also something that relates directly to Walter Philippine's work that she will be presenting about what kinds of effects on climate change do we expect to see in this species, or for this species. Then a bit about the social calls, and there I'll focus on one particular type of call called the burst pulse call that are marked with these yellow circles there in the torus record. Unlike the buzzes, they are produced very close to the surface, so within the first 50 meters or so. And they are highly stereotypical. They are the most common call type in the repertoire, and people before us already have suggested that they might carry this signature information that allows the individuals to identify each other. And here's some examples. Hopefully it will work. That was one. Second. Third. And then you can already hear that they sound very, very similar. They are all made out of buzzes, just the repetition rate of the buzzes changes. And they are very constant, so they are very, very stereotypical. One individual will produce this particular type of burst pulse calls throughout their record. And then when we kind of looking deeper into them, it's possible to measure the inter-click interval, so the time duration between individual clicks in these records, and then they can be plotted to look at the frequency distribution or the contour of this signal. And then when we compare them among the different individuals, we indeed see some stereotypical within the individual, but then also variation between the individuals. So again, indeed, it seems very much that these burst pulse calls could carry this signature information. And this is not a new phenomenon. In that way, it's new for narwhals, but there are plenty of other social cetacean species where this kind of signature information has been recorded. But it is sort of showing that narwhals have social structures, and that for them it is important to identify individuals. So they have very highly structured society. At least this would suggest that. But then maybe you've already noticed that there are two that look very much alike, so that there's no rule without an exception. We have these two problematic males here, Bjarne and Helge, where their vocal signals look very much the same, and they sound very much the same. So what is going on with these two males here? But again, because we had the satellite tags on them, we are also able then to look at their behavior on a longer time scale. And this figure here shows the mutual distance between these two individuals throughout the GPS record, so from mid-August to mid-December. And we can see that they are never further than 3 kilometers apart from each other, the entire 6-month period, in this huge Scoresbysund fjord area, as well as outside in their wintering grounds. And when we look even more further into that, we can see that for 97% of the time they are closer than 1 kilometer from each other. So they are really swimming and following each other close by. And then if we again zoom in then to the behavioral tags that give this very high resolution data, I chose a day there on the 15th of August, we see that they are also following each other during the dives. So they are kind of associated on the kind of this plane, but they are also swimming and diving together in the vertical plane. So this is something new that we haven't seen before for narwhals. So we think that this is evidence of synchronized behavior that could suggest that these males are associated or are forming some sort of a coalition that is long-lasting, and that could also explain why their vocal signals are so similar, because they are in bottlenose dolphins where this behavior also occurs. They have found out that sometimes the males that are closest associated with each other will start to mimic and copy each other's vocal signals. So to summarize, the biotelemetry methods and the project here in Jönnedet has given us a wealth of information on very different aspects of narwhal behavior, ranging from migration, locomotion, acoustic behavior, physiology, ecology, and when we are digging into the data even more, we are discovering new things that we didn't know and didn't expect. Okay, here we go. Yeah. This is a short video. I think Helge will show a longer video showing a bit more about the tagging, but this is the procedure we use. So we work together with the... Sorry?
I'm the cameraman.
Yeah, you're the cameraman.
Sorry.
Yeah, so we work together with hunters and that are capturing narwhals with nets, and we buy them alive from the hunters and then are able to instrument them and then let them loose. Work done. Thank you.